When was the last time you felt truly connected to yourself, to something bigger, to a deeper sense of purpose? Well, motherhood has a way of pulling us in every direction except inward. But what if the thing that helps us show up in motherhood isn't just strategy or sleep, though those help too, but spirit? Welcome to Motherhood and the Messy Middle, where we're talking about reclaiming your spirit, rediscovering your practices, and remembering that you're more than a mom, you're a whole soul. Welcome to Motherhood and the Messy Middle, where grade school meets grown kids, hot flashes meet holy fire, and no topic is too messy for this village. I'm Robin, one half of the voice behind this podcast. Nicole and I are two moms who slid into each other's DMs and built a virtual village where we are inviting you into our honest, healing, and often hilarious conversations that help you feel not so alone in the beautiful chaos of motherhood and midlife. We talk about what it really means to mother, to grow, to fall apart, and rebuild, spiritually, emotionally, hormonally, and sometimes all before breakfast. So whether you're in the thick of motherhood, facing perimenopause, praying hard, or just tired of pretending you're fine, this space is for you. Let's dive in. Well, hey there. Welcome back, Nicole.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. You know, this topic today, we're digging into something that really runs underneath everything else. And I frequently practice, but also need a lot of reminders to touch into, and that's spiritual connection.
Yeah.
So for me, whether it's prayer, meditation, journaling, or even just learning to be,
Mm.
being a human being versus a human doing
Mhm.
in the middle of the noise, especially in motherhood. And as we've discussed before, all of the beauty that can be in the mess that is perimenopause, that is
Right.
kids in the middle, all those things. I want to talk in this episode about tending to that part
Mm.
of ourselves that can get lost in motherhood, and that's our spirit.
Right.
So before we start, though, I want to make sure that everyone knows that Nicole and I were not here to preach. That's
Never.
not our thing,
Never.
but we are here to invite
Mm.
you to this table, to this conversation, reminding you that you don't have to wait for quiet to find peace, or as I like
Mm.
to say, to cultivate calm amidst
Mhm.
chaos. And that whatever your spiritual practices look like, they can evolve with you
Mhm.
in this season and the next season. So it's not something else that you have to do or a checklist or something you have to feel guilty about or that you're comparing to other people. There
Right.
is no right or wrong here.
Right.
But I want to hear from you, Nicole. What does it look like for you? Do you pray? Do you meditate? What do those things look like for you?
I spend more time in prayer, but I also do meditate. I think there's time and place for both. I don't think that there has to be one or the other.
Well, how would you
So,
define them? Because so often for me, when people approach me, they're like, they have a lot of misconceptions about meditation. So I
yeah.
usually spend my
Mhm.
first piece of teaching holistic weight loss and wellness in order to cultivate that inner fitness before
Sure.
outer fixes of like, well, let's get rid of those misconceptions, not only in diet culture, but
Yeah.
meditation. So how do you define the differences though between meditation and prayer?
The difference to me is when I'm praying, I'm opening myself and to having a conversation
Mm,
with the Lord. I create a visual, and whether that's I remember once my mom saying to me, like, "It feels like I'm just, like, curled up and sitting in my dad's lap." Or one time, a visual that someone had painted for me that was really beautiful was, like which I think can actually be used in meditation too, but just, like, I'm sitting on a swing and I'm talking to the person next to me, and it's casual, but I'm opening up, and we're growing in, like, this deeper intimacy of getting to know one another, because I think prayer is while I'm talking, I'm also listening, and I feel like there can be an exchange sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes the Lord's quiet and there's not always, but I'm opening myself up to that. Meditation, I feel like for me, and I feel like you're going to be able to give a much better definition of this, but for me, meditation is stillness, centering, grounding, creating calm amongst the chaos. Like when my nervous system feels out of whack. Now, prayer can get me there too, but sometimes meditating can take me into a deeper prayer.
Mm.
So just being able to slow my mind, remove distractions, focus on just simply breathing, or you touched on it on the another episode about your daughter, like when you're calming someone down, like just calming myself down to even be able to be in the presence of the Lord. Sometimes you can piggyback them, but I think they each have different purposes.
I love that. And, I just want to emphasize what we started with was saying we're not going to preach. And even when I teach, my goal is to empower people to ignite their fullest growth potential, which means
Mm,
you create your own meaning and sense making for whatever it is for you. And
right.
there is no right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
just when people are coming to the table and they don't know where to begin, that's when it helps that you can have someone to guide you in some different definitions that meet you where you're at. And, one of the areas that I really love doing for people is meeting them where they are. And
Mm,
so a lot of times people think that meditation means that your brain has to be absent of thought. And that is an
mm,
extreme misconception.
mm,
That may be the goal for some, like advanced meditation practitioners. But, I've been meditating for a long time and having consistent practice. And that still for me is not my goal. My goal is creating space between the thoughts
mm.
so that I can respond versus react
That's good. Yeah.
not only during the meditation, but the benefits extend far beyond that practice.
Mhm.
And, I compare it so often to the physical body. And when you do a bicep curl, that's going to benefit you when you're going and you're lifting a booster seat for your child.
Mhm.
And that's what meditation does. It helps you build that inner fitness so that when you are in and amidst the chaos, you have this underpinning of calm that you
Mhm.
can touch into. And what I also say to people is that for me, when I meditate, it's more listening, and really the goal is the observation of thought.
Mm.
Instead of letting the thought drive the car, you are driving the car and you might have some noisy kids in the back, but you're still the one who is taking the vehicle in the direction that
Right.
you want to go. A lot of visuals that I use for meditation to describe it would be like laying on a hill and observing the clouds. So
Mm.
there's you're just watching them pass by, and those clouds can become your thoughts, or a train car, and just watching them
Yeah.
pass by so that you're not attaching yourself to it. And it connects with something else that we've said before around the judgments that are so pervasive in our
Right.
culture, but especially in
Right.
motherhood. So that power of meditating, observing your
Mhm.
thoughts, then you are detaching from getting caught and swept up in them so that
Mhm.
then you can identify those judgments and respond again versus
Mhm.
react to then
Mhm.
shift into where you want to go. And,
How do
from
you
go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, like, if I'm a mom in the messy middle, and I'm struggling to find the space for
Mm,
that,
mm,
what is your recommendation to start finding the space to even attempt
yeah.
that time?
Well, the first piece is that if you are like me and you have an anxious mind, we call it the monkey mind in meditation, where it's just like the monkeys jumping on the bed and all the thoughts
Mhm.
swirling. Do not start with silent meditation. Go with a guided meditation. My preference is always a guided meditation because then I have something that I'm really focusing on, and it's helping me
Mhm.
to both observe the thoughts but be guided in that.
Mhm.
And then the second thing that I use as an analogy for remembering that it's more about frequency than it is duration. So often we fall into that trap where it's all or nothing. And people think,
Right.
well, if I'm not going to meditate for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening every day, then why am I doing it? And what I would say is, well, any little bit helps, first of all. Second of
Mhm.
all, I live in Minnesota, also known as Minnesota, often in winter. So the analogy of there's a fresh snow outside and you decide to go for an hour walk. So you go out your back door, your front door, whatever it is, and you go out and you come back and you look at the footprints in the snow and there's just a couple of them there. Now, what if there's another snowfall and this time you have a puppy? And so you're going to take that puppy out and you're going to come back in just for a minute. and then the puppy needs to go out, and then you're going to come back in, and then the puppy needs to go out, and you're going to come back in. What happens when you look at those footprints? The footprints are
I always
more,
overthink these things.
the footprints are really fermented in the snow. Like they are
Okay.
solid. You can see them. You have like a solid path that you've built.
Okay,
So,
yes. You like can take the same steps and then you
yep,
can take fresh steps. Okay, I'm
right. So
tracking.
when
I'm
you
tracking.
go for an hour out,
Right.
and if that's the hour meditation, it's not connecting with that stillness in your brain as well as if you would have shorter little trips
Mhm.
more frequently. So
Mhm.
that's the difference of that it's frequency versus duration. So
Okay.
meditating even 1 minute a day
Mhm.
is more powerful than doing 1 hour once a month.
Yes, I think that's powerful. I talk about that in my prayer guide about how it's better because when we think we're not doing prayer right,
Yeah,
we
then
tend
people
to
are
put
like,
it
I'm not
off.
going to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. And yeah, similarly, I talk about like just showing up in how you are, whatever form, whatever your prayer looks like, is good enough and better than not doing it at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, same for meditation. I had a friend recently who their doctor recommended that they meditate. So I now have become the person that people reach out to. I never thought I'd be that person, but she was like, "What should I do?" And I learned so much about meditation from you. And I was like, "Well, just don't." I told her the same thing. I said, "Don't start with silent because that's
Mhm.
awful.
Yeah, it is.
Just seriously start with 5 minutes and don't get mad that you don't feel like you did it right. Just keep doing it.
Mhm.
It gets easier."
It does.
So, I think
And the
that's a
same
really good
thing
analogy.
would be for prayer. For me,
Mm,
prayer, I say prayer is like me talking to God. And then in
mm,
meditation, I'm able to create space where I do get some divine downloads,
mm,
as I like to say.
yeah,
Um, but it can be uncomfortable when
yeah,
you feel like I'm not doing this right. Who am I even praying to?
mhm,
I've struggled in religion. I've been in a significant journey and I've had to heal a lot of religious trauma in
mhm,
order for me to identify what God is. And to be honest, I'm a recovering addict. And when I stepped into my first part of that journey was with Alcoholics Anonymous, I had a really wonderful program and sponsor who were like, you get to define what God looks like and feels
mm,
like for you. And that connects with what you said in the beginning. I never thought of a visualization for prayer.
mm.
And recently, somebody had shared with me that I should wrap myself in a shroud of forgiveness. And that
What's a shroud?
it's like like just like an energy, like a shawl,
Okay,
like a
okay.
sometimes I don't even know how to define. This is why maybe my husband should be on this podcast because he's like a walking dictionary and my daughter is like an advanced reader and she asks me things and I'm like, I don't really know. I just know what it is. Cause as much as I know a lot of things and
Yeah,
I have a big vocabulary and a lot of
yeah,
different things I can connect. I am terrible at remembering dates, like recalling
yeah,
dates and like
mhm.
specific, quotes and things like that. I'm like, I connect concepts. So sometimes I'm not even sure how to define something and I just like go with it. And I think like, okay, everybody, a
Yeah.
shroud, right? Like a shroud.
Well, and I feel like I don't understand things often enough that, like, the farther I get into adulthood, I'm not afraid to just ask anymore, even if
Yeah.
it's a
Never
common
be
thing. I'm like,
afraid.
"I don't know what that is." But everybody else probably does, but I don't know what that is.
I mean, 25% of the time when you ask me what a word is that I'm saying, it might just be made up. It might just be made up. So
I
who
feel like
who
it was a
knows?
good definition of what you just said, though. I
Yeah.
get it. Totally makes sense.
And covering you in it. And I'm
Right.
I'm a person that visualization really it helps with that. And
Mhm,
I'm gonna take that piece of what you said of imagining curling up like in my father's lap. And
mhm.
maybe even with that shroud of forgiveness or
Yeah.
compassion, whatever it might be. And that is just such a powerful, peaceful place to feel held and safe to be able
Mhm.
to commune.
Well, I think that it's easy to get stuck on God as this really big, like, looming, nerve-wracking, judging creature, not creature, man. and it gets intimidating, which,
Mm,
I mean, in a way, he is holy and divine and worthy of the throne in which he sits, which I honor, but that doesn't mean that, he doesn't want me to come to him, and so how do I try to put him in a box that I can conceptualize that feels more relational? Because when I think of this, oh, it feels
it's too big.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's too big, so I have to put it in a box where it feels like, okay, like which, I mean, you can't put God in a box. I'm not saying put God in a box, but I am
No,
saying
but
for the
define
sake
it in a
of
way that makes sense for you
right, and so that it makes it easier for me to come to him.
and
And
connect. Yeah.
right, so that's helped. Something I talk about in the prayer book too is take when we feel overwhelmed and it feels like, how do I even I don't even know what to say to you. Because I remember as a mom in the depths of the darkness of seasons of motherhood, it's too much of a mess. I can't even begin to start to pray because I am so much of a mess. And if I start to put words to the feelings, I will crumble because
Mm,
I'm barely holding it together.
mm.
And by identifying each emotion, that feels like so much work, and it will take apart the pieces that everything I'm holding it together, and if I start taking it apart, I can't hold it together anymore.
Mm.
Feels way too difficult. So in the prayer workbook, I talk about like taking that entire mess, don't identify each of them yet, and literally hand it to the Lord. Here you
Mm.
go.
Yeah.
Like
Surrender.
visualizing,
Take it
here
from
you
me,
go.
God. Yeah.
I, and then I talk about like maybe the Lord will just hold it for you and not
Mhm.
ask you to do anything else. Maybe he'll just create a safe space and he'll hold it for you. Or maybe he'll start to put all the pieces back in the right places
Mhm.
so that you can be held while he fixes some things.
Mhm.
And maybe he gives it back to you in better condition than you gave it to him. And there's all you can take that in however many metaphors you want to, but just that visualization of like what you were saying, have to have it all together. Like we can go for 1 minute, 1 second. Like, it doesn't have to be this picture perfect. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. Doing it is the most
Enough.
important thing. Yeah.
Circling
Yeah.
back to meditation, a lot of times people think you have to sit cross-legged and be,
Yeah.
with your hands in these crazy, they're called
Yeah.
mudras when you put your hands in different
Okay.
positions. And, I can tell you the science behind a lot of those different
Yeah.
things because it relates even to acupuncture and different, chiropractic things like how we
Right.
move our body, right? Like body, spirit, energy, like it all flows. And, I resisted a lot of that for a long time until I started learning about all of these different areas. And then again, my brain connects them and sees that.
Mhm.
And so I'm not
Mhm.
intimidated when I have somebody who comes to me as a Christian and thinks that meditation, I've had this happen
Mhm.
multiple times, that
I have
meditation,
no doubt.
it's a religion and it's only for
Mhm.
Buddhists. And or, I'm a Reiki master teacher and
Mhm.
I've had people approach me and say, "No, that's witchcraft." I'm like, "Okay, well,
Right.
that's okay. I'm working with the Holy Spirit, but
Mhm.
we all have different names for it, or in some they call it prana, and some it's chi, and
Mhm.
some it's ki. But we all make sense in our own way. And meditation does not have to be in that crisscross position with your hands in crazy
Right.
positions. You
Right.
could do it walking,
Right.
you could lay down,
Mhm.
you could sit in a chair. However, you feel most comfortable. It's
Mhm.
just about creating that space to be
Mhm.
able to observe your
Right.
thoughts. And
Right.
then the same thing with prayer. You don't have to have your hands together or be
Right.
following a specific format. One of the most powerful prayers that I have ever been given, and I use with my daughter when she is lost on what to say, 2 words: thank you. Thank you. Lord,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
God, thank you.
Yeah.
And just the
It's
rest of
good.
it, if you can't even put those words to it, you're just turning it over and having
Yeah.
that surrender and that trust in, the belief, right? That is the faith as a
Mhm.
foundation for
Right. And it's
getting.
just like with your meditation explanation, like with prayer, it's we have this invisible block that
Mm,
stops us, but if you just do a little, just even if it's a
mm,
simple gratitude, thank you, and then you slowly will find you'll start building on it. Or if you're getting used to not being in a formal prayer and just being more conversational, it takes practice. It's just like you were saying, do it for a minute, do it for 30 seconds, start small. Okay, Lord, seriously, here we go. I've had the realest conversations, but I'm like, okay, God, seriously, really bold, really bold, honest, because he already knows. But it takes like you're building, like you said, building that foundation of one step at a time. Here we go, Lord.
Well, and your prayer guide is directly quoted from the word of the Bible with the shameless audacity of a
Shameless
praying mom. Yes,
audacity.
like
Yeah, it was honestly, I am 39 years old. I have born and raised in a Christian home. I've been a Christian my whole life. And I had a time when I walked away from the Lord and then I came back. But only this last year or two, I read in the Bible where it says that he tells it, he's talking about like the Lord's Prayer and how to pray. And it literally says in Luke to pray with shameless audacity. And I was like, what? The Lord's literally telling us to pray with shameless
you
audacity?
sent me a Marco. I will never forget. I don't remember what day that was, but I was like, what? And then I asked you, where is it? And then I got out my Bible.
Yeah, like the shameless, and it
Okay.
literally says it. And it's different in like two different versions, but it said shameless audacity. Okay. I don't know how I missed that before, but I like it now.
Well, and you receive it when you need to.
Mm.
And, I want to wrap up this conversation, but also plant the seed that there's so much more to unpack here
So
because
much.
one of the things that I value about you is that you've accepted me for how I show up and how I define myself and, my relationship with God and what that looks
Yeah.
like in the journey. And I feel that a lot of people are afraid to
Mm.
have those conversations because of not just perception of judgment, but the real reality that there are risks of being ostracized in certain circles. And it's an important conversation to have. So I want to just put a pin in that, continue it in another
Yeah.
episode in the future. But I want to remind everyone that you can pray with shameless audacity, but what you need to know most of all is you don't have to have it figured out. You
No.
can just start.
Yeah.
Just start listening inward. And whether it's dabbling in prayer or continuing a practice or the same thing with meditation, it's just for you. It counts. It all
Mhm.
counts to help you regain your spirit and show up stronger in motherhood and
Mhm.
the messy middle. So, if this episode stirred something in you, we hope that you're going to share it with another mom who's ready to reconnect with herself. And if you haven't yet, we'd love for you to scroll down and leave us a quick rating or review. It really, really helps us to reach other moms. And it also reminds us that this space matters for us to
Mm.
continue committing to creating this space. So, you're also going to find the prayer guide that Nicole has put together and a prayer workbook that we mentioned in today's episode linked in the show notes, along with Robin's Wellnest YouTube channel that has a plethora, there I go with my big words again, of free resources for you, including meditations, but then also Meditation Momentum, which is a 21-day meditation journey that supports building a meditation practice,
So
especially
good.
if you are new to that practice. But we're here to support you. Prayer, meditation, building your virtual village, however
Mhm.
you need, in whatever way that you show up and in whatever way that you want to pray, meditate, journal, whatever
Mhm.
it is. We are
Mhm.
so glad that you're here with us. Until next time, the invitation to just find a moment to
Mm.
connect and recharge your spirit. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Hey, before you go, we've got something just for you. We created the Motherhood and the Messy Middle Resource Vault. It's a growing library of support that's just for you. So inside, you're going to find tools from both Nicole and my work, plus resources that we mention right here on the podcast. It's free, it's sent straight to your inbox, and it's always evolving, just like you. So take what you need, leave the rest. You never know when you're going to need it or when your group chat might thank you for it. So use the link in the show notes or head to motherhoodandthemessymiddle.com to get access and welcome to your virtual village.